Hi friends, welcome back to Mule4 series of learning videos. I am Siva.thankamanee, an integration technical architect. In this video, we are going to talk about how to develop an API monitoring tool for free. So you can develop this API monitoring tool in just 10 minutes. And this is very easy, and we are going to use a very simple and elegant technique that could be very useful across the organization. Let's get started. Let's see the use case. So in your organization, as you start developing the APIs over the period of time, you will end up having hundreds of APIs. And sometimes it will be overwhelming to maintain those services, and then particularly for the DevOps team or customer support team. You need to maintain, and then you should constantly keep looking into the logs to see if the APIs and services are working fine. So this could be a MuleSoft API, or it could be a service that's developed in the homegrown application, or it could be Java J2E application, or it could be .NET application, or it could be simple PHP application. So in an organization wide, you will end up having hundreds of services. That's sometimes overwhelming. So in this video, we are going to talk about how to design and develop a simple API that effectively monitors all the hundreds of services that's running in across the organization and across service lines. So let's see the basic principles behind this API monitoring tool. Now let's see what are the building blocks or the components required to build this simple monitoring tool. So first we need a scheduler that runs once in 5 minutes interval, or you just need a simple HTTP listener. And you need a Java utility because you want to hit the service simply without the payload, just you are going to invoke this URL. So you don't need a HTTP request component where you need to specify host, port, and relative URL. That's not required. So we are going to have some simple 5 lines of statement to have this Java utility. And then we will be having for each loop to iterate through these services. And then you need to have these URLs configured. So you need a list of service REST URLs, or if you have, in case of SOAP services, you need to have the SOAP WSDLs. And 5, you need XMLs that comes out of these iteration to with the statuses. And finally, you need XSLT. So you need to present it in a beautiful and user-friendly manner. So these are the 6 simple components that are required, and all you need is just 10 minutes to do this and then deploy it, and you will have this effective monitoring tool ready. Let's get into the demo. So I have created a Mule4 application with a set of components, which I will walk through one by one. So I named it as monitoring tool, and the flow is monitoring tool flow. And it's very simple set of components. It's not too complicated also. So we have a HTTP listener. I didn't even use the scheduler, but it's just a HTTP listener. And we have some transformation to convert this set of configured URLs in a programmatic way. I will explain what this is. And more importantly, this for each component is used. So for each scoop, what it does is it just iterates through the URLs that are configured, and that is the use of this. And then here we have a Java utility. So you can see here it's a REST client. It's simply a client that hits the URL and then finds out the status, whether it could be 200 or 400 or 500. So especially we are interested to capture 200 for success, 500 for connectivity error. So these are the two which we are more interested because here the 400 errors will mean success, because 400 means it's giving some error message back, which means these services are running fine. So this is a simple, I'll be explaining this REST client shortly. So this is a for each. And once we get the statuses for all these service URLs, whether it could be 5 or 10 or 20 services, we don't care. It just iterates through all the services and then finds out the statuses. And then it puts it in the form of JSON. Then we are converting into XML. So it just contains this API URL and statuses. And finally, we have XSLT, which presents this XML that contains the data about service URLs and its statuses in a user-friendly way, in such a way that they can be seen under one page as a bird's eye view. So that's about this XSLT transformation we have. And we can take a look at this property files, and which is important, where we have the list of APIs. And it's a simple comma separated URL list. You don't need to do any fancy stuff. So we have this URL. So this is a REST service which I have taken from the internet, which is available free, which you can do the testing. And we have taken one of the temperature conversion WSDLs, which is a SOAP WSDL file which I have taken in the internet. And I have deliberately made some mistake, I tampered this URL so that we get error message. And we have some other simple website URL called www.google.com, but you can use whichever the services you have in your own homegrown or any other APIs deployed in your organization. And I have another correct WSDL file which I have the same temperature conversion. So these are the list of URLs I have configured in the configuration property. Before we go deep into the flow and its components, I would like to walk you through how we have designed the REST client. So it's simple. It contains just 5 lines, including 4 configurations and 1 if-else statement. And it's very simple. We are using java.net.url, which is basically available in Java version, JDK, where we are just trying to establish the connection to the given URL, which we have split from the comma separated property, and which we are going to loop it through for each, and then we are going to hit one by one. So one at a time, we are using this URL, and then we are trying to make a connectivity by using just get. But this REST URL can have post or some other operations, but we are going to hit it through get, so that it gives some messages establishing the connectivity to this REST URL. And you don't need to worry about this the property, whether it could be JSON or XML payload. We don't need to worry about it. All we care is about after hitting the connection, and we are checking if the connection is being established, and then we are checking whether it is 200 and 400 error that are received, which means that the result is green, and if not, for anything else, it will be red. So these are the 2 simple status codes that we are taking. So if you are not completely confident, then you can set the range between 200 to 299, and you can also check 400 to 499. So all those response status codes will be considered green, and anything other than that, I mean, particularly if it ranges between 500 and 599, it should be red. So it's a very simple utility API which you can use a static method, where it just invokes and then gives either red or green. So that's a very simple utility that we have developed. And let's get into the flow. So first, what we are doing is we are trying to make an empty list. So this empty list is required because we wanted to hit the URLs one by one, and then we want to retrieve the status and store it in a separate list, so that when we do the transformation, we can display both the REST URL as well as its corresponding status. So this is stored for maintaining the status of these APIs. Then we have a simple Java data weave, which we can show that it's stored in the variable. So we are using the string utils which is provided by Spring Framework. So what we are doing is we are retrieving this property. So P of API list is dynamically used to retrieve the property that is given in API list. So it takes the property and it extracts the delimited list by means of comma separation. So comma is a delimiter. As you can see here, this property contains a comma separated list. So that's what we are using here, and we are putting it into the variable called the API list, where it will be an array list. So it will have all those URLs split. So why are we doing this? Because we need a list that we can use it under for each to iterate through this URL one by one. So that's about it. And this I have used just to test it, but this is actually not required. Delete it. You don't want any unnecessary components. So that's important one, where first you need to prepare yourself after reading this list of URLs. Then we are using for each, which is very simple. So what we are doing here is, as we have seen, we have the REST client. So we just invoke this REST client for the given payload. So what is this payload? You can see here the previous component is a transformation. So this contains the variable that contains the list of URLs. So that's getting iterated through for each. So you will get each URL going into the payload inside for each scope. So payload is the URL. So we are supplying this argument 0 with the retrieved or separated URL, and we are calling this REST client, which we have developed here. We are simply passing on this this payload as a string to call REST API. That's what we have given here. So call REST API is a method of this REST client. That's what here we have called REST API. That's what we configured here under invoke static component. So it's very simple. I'll share the code. You can refer this example. And here we are simply logging, and we do this transformation. So what we do in this transformation, again, we have a result list that we have initialized as an empty list. So we are just trying to add here. Here the addition means adding an element to the list. So it means it just keeps track of the result of each service that we have hit, and then we know whether each service is red or green. That is maintained in the result list array list. So internally it's simply a list, you can understand easily. And I mean, I'm planning to have a separate video on these, because whatever the simple statements or components I have used, each can serve as a separate ideas and design ideas which you can use in your day-to-day application. I will put a separate video so that that topic can be used for several other purposes by others. I'll do that separately. And now we have a transformation. So what we are doing here is in the variable we have a result list. The result list is being iterated here. You can see here the API list is iterated, that contains a list of API URLs, and also we are iterating the corresponding index is retrieved for the result list. So we are using the same API list index to retrieve the data from the result list. It's a very simple iteration where we take URL and the corresponding statuses. So what do we do here? In this transform message, we are converting that retrieved result lists with URL and statuses into the results XML. We are giving the root tag results. It's very simple. We are just assigning the payload results into results tag. And finally, we have a XSLT transformation. And so here we have an XSLT transformation with a small HTML file, which you can see here. So this is our XSLT. So it's very simple, which contains a HTML body, and I have a table, and it's all hard coded, which you can simply use it as a template. But only thing that differs here is the beauty of XSLT to iterate the results /API. because result slash API is what we have formed into XML. I will show it when I show the demo. So from this XML, we are retrieving this result slash API, which we have given here in this transformation. Let me show it here. In the XML, we have results, and every tag is the REST API and statuses. So we are using results slash REST API, results slash status. That's what we are using here. Results stats slash API and status inside. So these are the two fields, REST API and status, which are formed in XML, which we are retrieving. And we are using for each, in the XSLT. XSLT is a separate topic for you to learn, and you don't need to learn just for this purpose. You can simply use this XSLT, which I am going to share with you. And all you need to know is the tag that you are using and iterating it, because we are using the table row. So the table row will be iteratively populated with the corresponding REST API URL and the status. So one important thing to note is I have done if else in XSLT to populate the status into this background color, so that you can understand the URL and its corresponding status just by looking at it. So this is the simple XSLT where we leverage the result XML and populate it in an user-friendly way with a topic called API monitoring through MuleSoft API, and we say API status reports. Now let's run this application, and I have started up this, and then it's successfully deployed. And before that, we will see what is the XML looks like. So this is the one that I captured before this XSLT is constructed. So we have simple XML that contains results, and we have individual API, and we have this individual API called REST API and status. So we have a URL here, and we have added one more URL, never mind. And now we changed this status from true false into red and green, so that we can visualize it better. So this is a XML that's constructed out of after iterating through URLs and after finding the status of each URLs. So each URL, you should treat it as a separate service. Now let's run our service and then find out. This is our URL, and let's hit enter. And it's iterating and running through services one by one, and here you go. And now you have this beautiful page where you can see all the statuses visually upon hitting this. And the support team or DevOps team can hit this continuously whenever they want to know the status. They can simply use this and refresh this. And so this one I deliberately made issues, and where I tampered the URL and it shows red. And all the other services are running fine, and it's giving HTTP 200 OK, and hence it's giving green. So I used the same text as a background color in HTML simply to visualize whether they are green. We wish to see all greens. Our psychology is tuned. We are happy to see the green, and we will get alerted when we see the red. So it will be useful when you visualize this monitoring tool. Now, there is something important and critical that you need to note down when you are preparing such a API monitoring tool. It's very easy. It doesn't take more than 10 minutes. You can prepare it, but you need to take care on how you are going to deploy this. Since this API monitoring tool is going to be dependent, if there are no monitoring tools available, you will go and physically see if the API is running fine or services are running fine or not. But having prepared this API monitoring tool, you are going to depend on this and hoping that this tool is working fine. So this tool has to be prepared and deployed as a standalone API in Mule Cloud Hub or on-premises server, because this tool should be lightweight, because it should be having only one HTTP service. There is no complex algorithm or something combined. It should be very lightweight, no database, nothing. So it's just hitting the service and then rendering the value in HTML. Again, I iterate It's very important that this API monitoring API is going to be deployed as a standalone and lightweight API, so that there is no complex components. So if you look at all the components, they are just for loop and retrieving the property file, hitting the API and returning either 200 or 500 status. And then even the HTML page is not a heavyweight. It's just I mean, if you want to have a fancy HTML page, maybe you can work with the um, uh, presentation team or usability team, where they can prepare a hi-fi HTML page which all looks fancy, but that doesn't matter. All you need is the URL and then results, and you can enhance it. But the very important thing is it should be lightweight and it should be deployed standalone, because while you are combining with other APIs as one of the other ones, you can't monitor, because if the other services are down, this monitoring tool also is going to be down. So you are going to be heavily dependent on this API monitoring tool, and hence this must be always up and running, or hopefully this is always up and running, and it should be standalone, and then it should run with a good infrastructure, so that it always is up and running. So hope you like this video. When I say we can develop this API monitoring tool in 10 minutes for free, I mean, like, you don't need to purchase API monitoring tool. I mean, I have seen a lot of API monitoring tool which are heavily licensed or priced, and this one, then you are going to allocate some reasonable infrastructure for this, which is going to be used heavily. So, and hence it's almost free. I won't say it's 100% free, and it's, when compared to others, I think when you combine with the other APIs and you allocate small portion of infrastructure for useful tool like this, which is going to be helpful a lot for the development team as well as the DevOps team. So hope you like it, and then if you liked it, please hit thumbs up and subscribe my videos. Soon I'll be able to come up with more interesting topics. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.